Okay, welcome to the PRH video series on the mental health impact of COVID-19. I am joined by Dr. Mary Jo Gonzales, the Vice President of Student Affairs at Washington State University. And we are very grateful and lucky to have you doing this interview. So thank you, MJ, very much.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's jump on in. So MJ, broadly, one of the things that I'm excited to talk with you about is your position in leadership at WSU is the impact from your point of view about mental health, not just on individuals, but at your level, the impact on the student body as a whole, the culture, the faculty. So yeah, just broadly, what's that been like?
Well, as I sit here talking with you from my cougar nook that's in a 3-foot by 3-foot space, COVID-19 and how we're managing working from home had a tremendous impact. Our students, I've heard from a lot of them around how difficult it is, to be at home in their environment and to have to study with their families. Their younger siblings are doing their homework. They're fighting with their parents around the available internet. Some of them are worried about how they're going to survive because their parents don't have jobs anymore.
Yeah.
And so, the culture, I think, has been really interesting. I think we're used to helping each other. That's part of who we are. It's in our nature. It's how we support one another. It's hard to do at a distance, right? So we're physically distant, but we're also really pushing through with the social connection. So as a part of that culture, I've seen some of our students do also some amazing things. Student leaders got together and said, we have these food pantries, but we have students all over the state. So why are we not offering grocery reimbursement? And so our leaders said, hey, student leaders said, hey, I really want to be a part of the Cougs Helping Cougs motto. And that's what they did. Faculty and staff really stepped up to turn services over. Faculty turned over our curriculum and are doing as much as they can in a week to get ready. That's how much notice that they had. And so really, exactly. So 7 days over spring break when everybody was out playing, our faculty were, trying to figure out what assignments were best, how to navigate it, but so were our staff. Major programs around leadership, around training for stress and academic support like tutoring. How do we put this in an environment, including Zoom, to be successful for our students? So it really was a big transition,
Sure.
but I think it really is a part of, Chad, it, right? It's what do we do to help each other? And that's one of the best things that have come out of this is we are really, we're really living our values of Coug Helping Hoogs.
So what I'm hearing is that it's, unsurprisingly, the WSU culture it's staying tight. And, I was an undergrad here. I went here for grad school. I love WSU. I'm never leaving Pullman. This is the place to be. And that's the thing, right? It gets a hold of you. Even if you don't plan on staying, you get here, you're staying. So it's not.
We need to get some more crimson and gray for your office though, just to be clear.
True story. I thought about that because I'm like, well, Star Wars is my jam, but man, if there's a way to blend the two worlds, I'd probably my head would blow up. But yeah, no, WSU, I mean, it's not surprising to hear that the culture's kept it together and leadership's been doing well with it. But man, that timeline, a week, and getting everything, and not just as a civilian, I might be thinking about like curriculum and, kind of trickle down, but you're talking about lots of stuff, stress, I mean, the readiness, everything.
Every single aspect. I mean, even moving to telemedicine and telehealth. So our counseling services has gone online, or is doing telecounseling. Our doctors and our clinicians at Cougar Health Services are doing all of that. We also have student involvement, right? Where our registered student organization as a leadership team, they need to provide support services to the over 400 registered student organizations that we have. And so, yeah, exactly. So that's all the Zoom meetings, evenings, weekends. I happened to jump into the Student Senate meeting at 5:30 Wednesday night a few weeks ago. And, they are conducting business like normal. They're doing it over Zoom. And so it really we're a small town, and most people don't realize that we operate as much property and have as many employees as a small town and run, auxiliaries, our food, our housing, all of those issues. And so we had to act just like the city of Pullman did to make sure that our people were taken care of.
Mm-hmm. I mean, WSU is kind of its own city. It's its own microculture and microsystem.
But we live within a town and we live within a community. So I would tell you, some of the hard things about this, and the springtime is the best time of the year for me. I love graduation. I love all of those banquets. I love all of those events. And it really supports the community, for example, when we have Mom's Weekend. And to have to not have those events and to know the kind of impact on our community, it weighed pretty heavily on all of us as we were looking at those decisions. They were not easy. But that's also partly why we've been all committed to really engaging. I know all of us in senior leadership are making sure that we're supporting the local restaurants. Nick Rolovich, Coach Rolo. I mean, he hasn't even played a football game and everybody loves this guy, even my mom.
Yeah, he's all about it, man. He's out there. He's bringing pizzas to the hospital. He's doing it's really cool.
Yes. So, and that's how quickly I think people get into the culture, right? Understand it. And making sure that people are connected. So that's what I guess I really appreciate. But I also want to acknowledge though, and we've talked about this a little bit, the grief around not having all of those things that in the spring that students would have, and even our high school students, right? High school graduation, those last competitions, including, state championships in athletics and the banquets for band, we haven't had any of those at WSU either. So there's a lot of grief. There's a lot of loss about, what I've missed, what I didn't have. And so acknowledging that and allowing people to occupy that space is super important. I know I'm missing even though I complain about eating chicken 4 nights a week at all those banquets, I miss them tremendously because it's a time where you get to see students who walked in the door, as first year students, very hesitant during Alive, and they are just blooming and ready to conquer the world. And so it's really hard to be away from them right now too.
And MJ, I know offhand, I've had a number of patients talk to me about either those incidental one-on-ones they've had with you, or just knowing when you make a guest appearance, so to speak, or you pop in at a Senate meeting, or even back when I was at Health and Wellness and I had a few chances to talk with you, you make an impact on people. And I'm sure that's not unique to you, but a lot of the leadership is really on the ground and they're with people. And so the relationships you form with people, what I'm hearing is that it's not just the students that are suffering with it. It's both ways.
Oh, heck yeah. As adults, and I use that word, as the adults, we're the ones supposed to keeping our stuff together right now. Some of, I'm as sad and mopey when I hear my students talk, because the Cougar Fight song is mine. That's one of the things, I don't care what event we're at. And it's that rallying cry, right? And I think I even made you sing it.
Yeah. So MJ, I have to tease MJ a little bit. We were doing a little mic test and MJ went right into the old Cougar Fight song and killed it for the record. But, yeah, I actually knew the mic was working before I told you to stop. So
well, and part of it, and that spirit, it's that heartfelt, like, I love this community like you. I'm a first-gen low-income college student. I was a single mom here finishing my master's and Ph.D. And so this community, my daughter and I would go to the library and read books. We got support from the Community Action Center. So this, like you, this place is in my blood. And, Crimson, it's really funny, after all of I learned how really dark colored the blood is. And it really is that crimson color. So, crimson and gray, it just runs through my veins. And I think it runs through our community. And that's why we have so many people who are dedicated to WSU. But again, we are all missing out on that. And I had to go on a video. I purposely went on a video and just sang the fight song. It was the first time in months I had sang it publicly. I botched it like 2 times, but it's a part of what we have to do to normalize some things that, there are things we have to hold on to during this time, and each other is one of them.
That's lovely. That's a lovely sentiment. We've talked about what's been hard and what's been difficult, the transition for everybody. But the kind of thing that doesn't get discussed a lot is maybe the things that have been easy, things that have been smooth. And you touched on already the culture and how that's been a support. Have there been other things that you've been either surprised by or just noticed, like, man, this kind of just flew together. This just worked and it's smooth?
Yeah. And I'm excited about some of the things that have gone well, because we do talk a lot about the things that haven't gone well.
Right.
I think, our Cougs Feeding Cougs program, I have just been, when I went on the first town hall, I talked to students about and parents and families about Cougs Feeding Cougs and the need for us to support those students who need help, a meal, our food pantry support. And we had 70 students over the course of the past 2 weeks or so donate over $20,000 of their resident dining account dollars. This was money that they hadn't spent, but they gave it to that program to be able to support students. We received news about a major influx of funding into our Crimson Opportunity Scholarship because people saw the need. And as a university, that's the kind of coming together. Our Palouse alums for the Alumni Association had a food drive, over a ton, 2,048 pounds or 68 pounds were gathered of food. That's when our Alumni Association went around. So to me, that's the part that has gone really well. I also think, as much as we've struggled to get services online, I think our students have been able to get the help that they need. We haven't done it 100%. Nobody could in this kind of environment.
Yeah.
It'd take years for us to plan, but I think overall we have a lot to be proud of. Even the Department of Health that we worked with, the regional hospital, the great relationship that we have, the coordination and conversations that we're having, those are all really good things that, again, we're just committed to one another as a community. And I think that's pretty important, that we highlight all of those great successes that we've had together.
And on that note too, I just learned this morning that the WSU is, I don't know if it's the communications department, but there's going to be a 24-hour telethon that's going to be help for fundraising for the hospital. And I mean, just like throwing that in with the other stuff you're talking about, I love it. It's just this, I love working here because being able to be connected with WSU is kind of living the dream. And then Pullman's, it's really great to see all this. So
and we're neighbors too, Chad, right? That's the other part. I don't mean Chad and I are neighbors, but that we live next to the people we work with. And so I know who works in SEL across the street from me, WSU down the street. We're seeing I don't know about you, but I love seeing how many people are really going out and just walking with their families. I didn't see that very often before. And so that's the other piece of this. As much as COVID is strangling us, or it feels like it could be strangling, I'm also seeing people connect in ways that we hadn't connected before. That is really cool.
Man, that reminds me. I was just talking with Leslie Robeson earlier today, and we were talking about the investment or kind of silver linings, thinking about when all this is kind of resolving, how much more hugging is going to mean. Or like for me, and I know I made the same comment earlier. I'm probably not supposed to say this, but I can't wait to shake someone's hand again, like that professionalism kind of stuff. But it's going to mean a lot more. And then what you said too, like from my office window, I look right across the street at the hospital, and never fails, I'll see like a couple walking their dog, or folks that are walking by smiling, and it's those little moments that are like, yeah, we're going to be okay. And it's tight being here and seeing that kind of resiliency. And of course it's emblematic of the culture here. So, well, MJ, I could talk to you all day, obviously. I do want to get also some specifics about, if you're okay with sharing this, about thinking forward. So we've been through a lot, week to week stuff, moment to moment stuff. From an admin point of view, from a leadership point of view, what currently are the things that WSU is really thinking about moving forward? What are the questions on mind?
Absolutely. And I'm sure that everybody's seeing this, like, for example, from the state, right, as well as the federal government. We are asking a lot of critical questions. What we don't have right now is answers. Some of the questions we're asking about is, what will it look like when we bring students back in the fall to live in the residence halls? How are we going to manage the risk there? And how many students can we have in a particular hall, or can we have in a particular floor? Even in a classroom, we're talking also about, like, for example, the recreation facilities, which I am finding are more and more important in my day, because instead of sitting in this chair, I really have to get out and move. And how am I doing that? You do not want to see me doing aerobics on the side of my room, because it's not the same thing as being in the gym. And so for me, that's the kind of things that we're looking at and planning, is how do we bring back individuals to campus in a healthy and safe way. And by the way, we have some of the national experts in epidemiology. And by the way, I'm learning a whole lot on epidemiology. I am not an armchair epidemiologist, but we're going to rely on those experts who are also like atmospheric experts, who talk about how air comes in and how it leaves a building and what's the safe space for that. So these are all the things we're talking about. What does it mean to make sure that our employees, for example, have the proper gear that they need, whether it's a face mask. I recommend that it's branded with Coogwear, because I'm getting some of those made now. But to really think about how to bring people in safely to campus, and it's all of our campuses. It's not just the Pullman one. We have 5 facilities, 39 county extension offices and research centers. So when we make a decision, it has impacts all the way down the line. And so those are some of the questions. We actually have some groups that are working. I'm chair of the executive policy group. That is the group that is helping the university make some of these policy decisions, so that our staff can come back health and safe, and so can our students. I know parents and students are both very worried about that. So that's kind of what we're doing in terms of the forward thinking. We will have more answers as the summer comes. And it will be, we will announce those as we make those decisions. And I know everyone wants an answer now. What I can tell you is we are relying on science, we're relying on data, we're relying on facts, so that we are making the right call for our people. Yeah,
it's WSU. Of course, you're doing the
it
right
is.
thing.
Because we care. We don't, I mean, I don't want to, these decisions are not easy, right? You know, and we are sitting down and asking ourselves some really difficult questions. And those difficult questions, you know, those are the things that keep me up at night. You know, how do I do this? How do I safely bring back our students? I talked about this earlier in our town hall, Alive is one of my favorite times of the years. We're welcoming new students, but I'm not going to expose or risk their health if I don't have the proper plan in place. So those are the things we're thinking about and planning and coordinating. Definitely with the city, definitely with the county, definitely with the state.
A lot of things.
It is.
Mhm. That
Yeah,
kind
and
of
those meetings used to happen 8 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. So these are things that we're doing every day in terms of our processing.
a lot of thinking on your feet and just kind of making it work. But
Mhm.
yeah, and that it kind of ties in what you're just saying with the you know, I've been asking everybody this when we've wrapped up about if you're comfortable,
Mhm.
how COVID has impacted you personally, your personal life, you know, that kind of thing, or if you're comfortable sharing.
Oh, you know, if I don't get emotional, I'll be surprised. I've had to really, you know, I I think I'll share pretty publicly. I think folks know that I'm recovering from a pretty serious life illness, and so I was homebound for 4 months, and then had started just reemerging from the cocoon, and it really was a very slow cocoon, and then all of a sudden COVID-19 happens, and I'm homebound again. So I would tell you, I think I'm struggling with everybody else around, wow, what does my life look like? I can't wait to give hugs. I'm a hugger. So I know you might be handshaking, but I'm gonna be hugging people.
Oh, we're doing both,
I'm,
all the above. Yep.
yeah, I miss that. I miss
Mhm.
the human connection. I miss the partnerships that I had. I miss the conversations where we could just sit across from each other and look at each other and go, you know, so there are some things that I think that it is hard for all of us. And I think we should all acknowledge that even as adults who are managing really sophisticated things and complex things. I would also say there's the quiet. There is such a quiet out there right now. And it is awesome to see. I mean, I have a window right here is my window, and I see families walking together, laughing and joking, and, you know, brothers and sisters, you know, pushing each other back and forth and teasing. And I see that, and it reminds me that quiet is also what we need to get back to in terms of centering. And it was something that I had learned when I was homebound for all of those months. And so it's good to have that back and good to remember that, but also not forget that I'm not alone. And I think that's the other lesson is we are all in this together. So I'm not going to hoard toilet paper. I hope nobody else does either. But
Yeah.
just the remembrance. In fact, one of the other vice presidents and we happened to be chatting, and he's like, "Hey, I'll bring you some ceviche," and because he's a ceviche king, and so he made it, brings it over, and I just hand him over. I had just made a tray of Suiza enchiladas, and so I just hand them to him, and it was just. And by the way, not hand. I put it there. He put his stuff. We didn't exchange. Never.
Okay.
We were very physically
Yeah.
distant, but that's what I mean by the just taking care of each other. And so for me personally, it's been just a real experience and a reminder that, you know, we're all human, that this is a hard time for all of us. And if we just treat each other with care and the tenderness that everyone deserves, then we're going to do just fine. And we just got to remember that through this whole process.
MJ, that was magical. That's a perfect
They
note.
tend to be magical. I mean, everybody's got to go through one of these experiences in life to kind of get to this place. This is, for a lot of people, this is it, Chad. I mean, these are being home and not having people around, and it's probably pretty hard for a lot of folks. And so you can always reach out. I try to be connected as much as I can. Sometimes it's not that easy, but I actually think everybody would say that too. And in fact, all of your speakers, I imagine, are like, I need help. Just to say it, ask it, and we'll do what we can to be there.
And another trend that's popped up, and it really echoes what you're saying. And again, that was very eloquent. Well done. I was getting the old goosies. But it's the other thing that's been coming through with some of these testimonials, and I really like this, is that it's not all bad. That there's been this positive to it, things that you appreciate and slowing things down, and it's things that maybe are going to stick around, hopefully. You know, and so it's sometimes when you're forced to step back, like you said, and slow it down, you do notice things that you might have just skipped past. And nothing like Pullman and WSU to really have a lot of things for you to reflect on that are great and be positive. So, well, MJ, thank you so much for the interview. It's been lovely talking with you, and we're very grateful for your participation with this.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure, and looking forward. And what do we always say as we end things?
Go Cougs! I'm going to crank that up in my post edit and make it really loud.